The night sky over the planet Lunara burned with fire. The royal palace, once a shining symbol of peace, was now under attack. Soldiers loyal to the crown fought desperately, but they were outnumbered. The smell of smoke filled the air and screams echoed through the stone halls. Princess Solara, barely 10 years old, was running through the dark corridors with 2 guards at her side. Her long silver hair glowed faintly under the moonlight. Her heart raced. She could still hear her father's last words. "Run, Solara. Do not look back." The guards led her out toward the cliffs that overlooked the deep valley below, but before they could escape, a group of traitor soldiers appeared, blocking the path. Their leader, a tall alien with cruel yellow eyes, smiled as he stepped forward. "So, the last royal," he sneered. "Your family's reign ends tonight." Solara's guards fought bravely, but they were cut down. The traitor grabbed Solara by the arm. She kicked and struggled, but he was much stronger. Without a second thought, he dragged her to the edge of the cliff and threw her into the darkness. Solara screamed as the world spun. The wind roared in her ears. She was sure she would hit the ground and die, but fate was strange that night. Instead of striking the rocks, Solara fell into a deep pool hidden in the valley below. The water was freezing, and it knocked the breath out of her, but it saved her life. She struggled to swim to the shore, coughing and crying. Her body ached and her head spun. For hours, she lay on the wet ground, staring at the alien stars above her. She was alive, but alone. Her family was gone, her home destroyed, and she had no one to help her. Days passed. Solara found a small cave near the pool and made it her shelter. She ate strange fruits from the valley trees and drank water from the pool. The nights were cold, and the valley was full of strange glowing insects that buzzed like whispers in the dark. Solara learned to be quiet, to hide whenever she heard footsteps above on the cliffs. Then one afternoon, everything changed. A small spacecraft landed nearby. Solara hid behind the rocks and watched. A group of strange beings stepped out, tall, pale-skinned creatures wearing smooth suits with shining helmets. She had never seen such beings before. They looked different from any species she knew. One of them removed his helmet. He was a human boy, maybe 12 years old, with short brown hair and curious blue eyes. His name was Eli. His parents were part of a secret research team sent by Earth to study Lunara's wildlife. Eli noticed movement behind the rocks and slowly approached. Solara wanted to run, but she was too weak. When he saw her, his eyes widened. "Hey, you're hurt," Eli said softly. She didn't understand his words, but she could feel his kindness. For several minutes, they just stared at each other. Then Eli knelt down and offered her a small packet of food. Solara hesitated, but hunger won. She ate, and for the first time since the fall, she felt safe. Over the next few weeks, Eli secretly visited her. He brought medicine, blankets, and more food from his camp. He tried to teach her simple words in English, and she taught him words from her own language. They laughed when they got them wrong. Solara began to trust him. She told him in broken words and gestures what had happened, about the traitors, the palace, and the cliff. Eli's face grew serious. "I'll keep you safe," he promised. "One day I'll come back for you." Solara believed him, but then one morning Eli didn't come. Instead, she saw the human ship flying away, leaving only dust behind. Eli had been recalled to Earth. His family's mission was over. Solara stood alone in the valley, holding the blanket he had given her. Tears filled her eyes, but she remembered his words. One day he would return, and so she waited. For 15 long years, Solara survived in the valley. She grew stronger, faster, and wiser. She learned how to hunt with a spear, how to fight with the staff she carved, and how to hide from those who still searched for her. The girl who had once been thrown from a cliff was now a woman, a survivor. But deep inside her heart, she still remembered the boy from the stars. The stars above Lunara looked the same as they did 15 years ago, but everything had changed. The planet was still full of conflict. The traitors who had overthrown the royal family now ruled with fear, but many alien clans still resisted in secret. And now, after all those years, a human ship returned. Eli stood on the bridge of the small Earth Federation cruiser, his hands behind his back. He was no longer the curious boy who had once played in Lunara's valleys. Now he was Captain Eli Varen, a skilled diplomat, explorer, and peacekeeper. But as he looked down at the planet from orbit, he felt his heart beat faster. He had never forgotten the girl from the valley, Princess Solara. Officially, his mission was to negotiate peace between the ruling council and the rebel clans. Unofficially, he had another mission of his own: to find Solara if she was still alive. The ship landed in a neutral city near the southern cliffs. The air was warm and the streets were full of alien traders. Eli and his small team moved carefully, blending in as much as possible. His first stop was the local information hub. "Any news of the royal bloodline?" Eli asked a merchant quietly. The merchant glanced around nervously and lowered his voice. "Most say they are all gone, but some whisper the last princess lives hidden somewhere in the wildlands." Eli's heart jumped. That was enough for him. That night, while his team slept, Eli slipped out of the city. He took a small hover bike and rode into the valley he remembered from childhood. The ride took hours, but when he reached the cliffs, his chest tightened. The place looked almost the same. The glowing insects, the shining pools, the tall silver trees. Memories flooded back. He searched for hours, calling out softly, "Solara, it's me, Eli." There was no answer at first. The valley was silent except for the hum of night creatures. Then he heard something behind him, the sound of footsteps. Before he could turn, a staff swung toward him. Eli barely dodged as the weapon hit the ground where he had stood. A tall figure stepped out of the shadows, a woman with long silver hair and glowing blue eyes. She wore simple armor made from leather and bone, and her stance was strong, ready to strike again. "Wait," Eli shouted, raising his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The woman stopped. Her eyes narrowed as she studied him carefully. "You speak strange words," she said in broken English. Then her expression softened slightly. "Eli?" Eli felt relief wash over him. "Solara, it's really you." Slowly, she lowered her staff. She stepped closer, her expression shifting from suspicion to recognition. "Boy from stars," she whispered. Eli smiled. "Not a boy anymore." For a long moment, they just looked at each other as if to be sure this wasn't a dream. Then Solara spoke again, her voice full of quiet strength. "You came back. I promised," Eli said simply. Solara led him to her cave. It was no longer just a hiding place, it had become a home. Inside were carefully crafted weapons, books taken from fallen soldiers, and even a small shrine with a tattered blanket. The same one Eli had given her years ago. Eli sat down beside the fire. "I came to help," he said. "I know what happened to your family. I want to set things right." Solara's eyes darkened. "The traitor still rules. He has many soldiers. Many fear him." "Then we'll find those who don't fear him," Eli replied. "Together, we can unite them." For the next several days, Eli and Solara worked side by side. Eli used his contacts to secretly reach out to rebel leaders, while Solara traveled through the valleys to speak to old allies who still remembered the royal family. It was not easy. Some clans refused to believe Solara was truly the princess. Others were afraid of punishment. But slowly, they began to gather support. Eli admired how strong Solara had become. She was no longer the frightened girl he had once saved. She moved with confidence, spoke with authority, and inspired others to fight for freedom. One evening, as they planned their next step, Solara looked at Eli and asked, "Why help me? Your people could leave. Be safe." Eli shook his head. "Because humans fight for those they care about. And I care about what happens here, about what happens to you." Solara said nothing for a moment, but a small smile appeared on her face. But their growing alliance did not go unnoticed. One night, as they camped near the cliffs, a group of armored mercenaries attacked. Blaster fire lit up the darkness. Eli grabbed his sidearm and returned fire while Solara fought with her staff, striking down 2 attackers in quick moves. "Go," Eli shouted. They ran through the trees, dodging blasts. Eli led Solara to an old stone bridge across the river. But more mercenaries were waiting. They were surrounded. Eli looked at Solara. "Do you trust me?" She gripped her staff tightly. "Yes." "Then follow me." Instead of running back, Eli charged forward, surprising the mercenaries. Solara followed, striking hard. Together they fought their way through, escaping into the night. When they finally stopped, far from danger, both were breathing hard. Solara looked at him, her eyes fierce. "They know I am alive now. They will send more." Eli nodded. "Then we move faster. We gather everyone before they find us again." For the first time in many years, Solara felt hope. The boy from the stars had returned, and this time he was ready to fight for her people. But deep inside, she also knew that their enemies would not stop until they were both gone. The next few weeks were the hardest. Eli and Solara traveled from valley to valley, from mountain camps to hidden caves gathering support. Each place they visited brought more warriors, more weapons, and more courage. Solara spoke to the alien clans with passion, reminding them of the days when her family ruled with fairness. Lunara must be free, she told them. We can no longer live in fear. Her words spread like fire. Soon dozens of clans pledged loyalty. They formed a secret army ready to march. Eli used human technology to build communication devices and small shields that gave them an advantage over the traitor's soldiers. But the enemy was not blind. One night, while Eli was planning their attack on the enemy stronghold, Solara returned with bad news. The traitor knows. He sends his full army to crush us before we strike. Eli's mind raced. Then we have to be smarter, not stronger. If we fight them head-on, we lose. But if we make them fight on our terms... He quickly drew a plan in the dirt. We lure them to the valley. We trap them between the cliffs, cut off their supplies, and strike from above. Humans call this a pincer trap. Solara studied the plan and nodded. Dangerous, but clever. When dawn came, their army moved into position. The rebels hid among the cliffs, ready to strike. Eli stood on a high rock with a small communicator in his ear, directing the defense. The enemy came in full force, armored vehicles, soldiers, and even airships. At their head rode the traitor, the same man who had thrown Solara off the cliff 15 years ago. His cruel yellow eyes glowed with triumph. This ends today, he shouted, but it was not Solara who looked afraid. It was him when the trap was sprung. Explosives set by Eli's team detonated, blocking the enemy's retreat. Rebel warriors attacked from both sides of the cliffs. Arrows, energy bolts, and human blaster fire rained down. The battle was fierce. Eli fought beside Solara, covering her with precise shots as she led the charge. Every time it looked like the enemy might break through, Eli used his communicator to call reinforcements at the right place and time. This was where the humans excelled, not just in weapons, but in strategy. After hours of fighting, the enemy forces began to fall back. Solara spotted the traitor trying to escape on his hoverbike. Her heart pounded. This ends now, she said, and ran after him. Eli followed, protecting her from stray fire. Together they reached the cliff where everything had begun. The traitor turned to face them, his weapon drawn. You should have stayed dead, he hissed at Solara. Solara stood tall, her staff in her hands. You tried to take my life once. You will never take it again. The traitor fired, but Eli leaped forward, using his shield to block the blast. Solara struck with her staff, knocking the weapon from his hand. The fight was quick but fierce. Staff against claws, strength against speed. At last, Solara disarmed him completely and held her staff at his throat. You will answer for what you have done, she said coldly. The traitor glared but said nothing. Rebel soldiers arrived and took him away. When the fighting was finally over, the valley was silent. The enemy army had been defeated and the rebels stood victorious. Cheers rose through the valley. For the first time in many years, hope returned to Lunara. In the days that followed, Solara was crowned Queen of Lunara in a ceremony held in the rebuilt palace. The alien clans stood together, united. Eli watched from the crowd, proud. When the ceremony ended, Solara walked to him. You kept your promise, she said softly. And I always will, Eli replied. She looked at him for a long moment. Lunara needs allies. We need someone we can trust. Will you stay? Eli smiled. If you'll have me, Solara nodded. Then stay, not just as an ally, but as a friend. Together they climbed the same cliff where Solara had once been thrown as a child. The valley stretched out before them, peaceful and beautiful under the twin moons. You saved me twice, Solara said quietly. You saved yourself, Eli replied. I just kept my promise. They stood side by side, looking toward the future. The fight was over, but a new age was beginning. An age where Lunara and humanity would walk together. And for the first time in many years, Solara smiled without fear.